So the winter has proven to be a very busy and exciting time for the North Reading High School. A few notable academic matters. Today marked the first day of midterms for the high school students. The next 3 days will consist of half days following 2 90-minute exams each day. This past week, the PSAT scores were posted to the College Board and were available to all students who decided to take the exam. And after we received our scores, Mr. Rosa, the guidance counselor, had us come in, and we got the juniors went separately and the sophomores went after, and we got a presentation about what those scores meant and how to use that towards college and how to apply that to the SAT. This is the second year in a row that the North Reading High School is named to the AP Honor Roll, and this is based off of increased participation in all AP classes, as well as increased grades, so that's a very good point. On the 26th, there will be a presentation about the new SAT for junior and senior students and for their families, just to get a new understanding of the new SAT and how to go about applying for it, studying for it. And there's a junior college planning night on February 4th in the Performing Arts Center at 6:30. A few notable fine art matters. The auditions were held this past week for the North Reading High School a cappella group Notorious. And on Saturday, February 27th, North Reading High School's Massacres are hosting this year's Drama Festival, which consists of 10 to 12 high school students coming from our region coming to participate. And it's a very good opportunity for us to show off our theatrical talent as well as our new Performing Arts Center. Winter sports have also been very successful. Wrestling, swimming, gymnastics, cheering, everyone has been really successful all around. Some highlights. Boys track won the Division 5 state relays last week, which was the first in all of North Reading history. They set a lot of state records, which was really impressive. And girls track also came fourth overall in the state relays championship. Boys hockey has a record of 7-0-2, and boys and girls basketball have both made it to the tournament already, and the boys basketball team has a record of 10-0.
Okay.
Some other matters. Last presentation, Dan Madden talked to all of you about a career speaking series that we're starting at the North Reading High School. So today we had a speaker, Jennifer Brisen from Massachusetts Veterinary Hospital, coming in to talk about her profession and speaking to all students who want to pursue a career in veterinary medicine. And the next speaker will be coming on January 29th, and the speaker is attorney Nick Bonsalita, is coming to speak to all those who are interested in a career in law. For my student work sample, I brought in a lab that we worked on in chemistry. We've been focusing on just different aspects of the periodic table of elements, and specifically we have been learning to identify elements based on a few things, such as its molar mass and some properties that we had to observe. This was our first big lab of the year, and it was very formal. What essentially happened was we were given many different test tubes with unknown elements, and we had to use the molar mass and different conversions to figure out what the element was, and there's also a rubric that goes along with it.
I just wanted to mention the AP Honor Roll. That's the second year in a row we've made it, and it's a confirmation on our philosophy, which differs from a lot of other high schools and communities, where they restrict who can take AP courses to the, quote, brightest kids in the school. We encourage all of our students to take AP courses, as many as want to take them. We give at least double the number of AP courses as a school like Bloomington High does, which is much bigger than our high school. And our scores have also improved significantly over the last few years. And initially it was a philosophy that I was a little bit skeptical of, because I was worried that students who really maybe felt they weren't ready to take AP courses, we might be forcing them to take them, but it's proven that this philosophy, I think, is the right way to go. And it started when Mrs. Bernard was the principal, and it's continued under Mr. LaQuette as the principal. And I just want to congratulate the high school administration for keeping up the good work at the high school with the AP courses.
I'd add too, I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, it's still required that each student that takes an AP course actually enters into a contract to take the examination.
That's correct.
They're committed to these courses, and like Mel said, I think it's actually close to 3 times as many students in North Reading took the AP exam, or took 3 times as many exams as they took in Wilmington, which has a significantly higher enrollment than North Reading does.
So we were in the 500 range this year, right?
We currently offer 17 advanced placement level courses. You just recently approved an 18th one that will run next year for the first time, and we're hitting about 400 exams administered, which is a significantly high number.
I think 8 or 10 years ago, we were less than 100.
I can tell you that when I started as the principal in 2003, there were 87 exams. So nearly, 4.5, 5 times what it was.
And on top of that, our athletic teams are doing unbelievably well. In fact, I think the girls' basketball team is ranked number 11 in the state right now.
11th, I believe.
11th in the state.
You're
Thank
more
you.
than welcome.
But you don't have
All right, I'm going to jump down just a little bit because we have a wonderful presentation, and I will call Ms. Carla Lister up.
Hello, as most of you know, I'm Carla Lister. I'm the music director at the middle school. I'm the chorus, and general music director. I'm also the theater director for the middle school, and it's my privilege to introduce to you one of the most amazing young women that we have in our school district, Mrs. Bridget Grew. She is my student director for the musical, and she's also our stage manager, and honestly, I don't need to be there. She runs the show completely fine without me. They mess up when I'm around, and I'm going to turn it over to her. Thank you. Thank you, Joey. I feel like I have a whole lot of pressure talking to you. She's built me up, and thanks. So as she said, I'm Bridget Grew. I'm an 8th grader at the middle school, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about not only the front end of the stage, what you see, but also backstage, because it's just as important. We do have some of our wonderful cast here tonight to perform for you, but I'm going to bore you a little bit before that and talk to you about the backstage elements. So putting on a show, obviously the first part is holding auditions. These were held in late September, and we started rehearsals in October. And there are a lot of hours that go into putting on a show. We have rehearsal about 3 times per week, and now in the 2 weeks leading up to our show, we'll be there every day until about 5:30. So a lot of time spent together, which is a lot of fun, and we get to learn a lot about each other on stage and off stage. Something new for this show is we have 2 student choreographers, Miss Bella McCaffrey, who's here tonight. It's a whole lot of work coming up with the dance, teaching it to your peers, and then perfecting it. I am just so impressed by Bella and her co-choreographer, Maddie, who just, thank you so much, Bella, for everything you do, because, oh goodness, there would be no dancing if I had to choreograph it. It'd be horrible. So talking about backstage crew, we start in meetings with our director, Mrs. Lister. What do you want to see on stage? What do you want the end product to be? And then from there we go into more design meetings with the stage crew. Then we start painting and building our sets, and we're very happy with how they came out. And we're excited for you to hopefully see them on the stage. And we need to give a huge thank you to Friends of Hornet Productions, who is our parent support group. They put in so many hours and just so helpful to making sure our show goes off without any problems. Especially thank you to Mrs. Sandy Garnis and Mrs. Lene Casino. Just, it's unbelievable how much time they put in, and it's so appreciated. So I'm going to hand it over to Stuart Garnis, who's Bugsy Malone, our dance girls, and Samantha Magner is Roxy Robinson, because I am the boring part of this presentation. So I'm going to stop talking because they're going to do wonderful. So without further ado, the cast of Bugsy Malone.
Someone once said, if it was raining brains, Roxy Robinson wouldn't even get wet. In all New York, he didn't come much dumber than Roxy the Weasel. To be frank, Roxy was a dope. As sure as eggs is eggs, Roxy Robinson had been well and truly scrambled. Oh, you might be wondering who I am. My name's Malone. Bugsy Malone.
talking about it for so long, you should probably know when to come. Friday, January 29th at 7, Saturday, January 30th at 4, and Sunday, January 31st at 1. We'd love to see you there. The box office is open tomorrow and next Wednesday from 4 to 6, and you can also purchase tickets online. So we have tickets for the school committee. I'll pass those out, and I'd like to thank you all so much for your time tonight, and we hope to see you on our show.
If you haven't been to a show in our new Performing Arts Center, I'm telling you, get a ticket and go. Last year, the middle school did Wizard of Oz. It was unbelievable. It was spectacular. The high school did Peter Pan, and this year they did A Christmas Story. I'm telling you, if you haven't been there, buy a ticket and go. It's incredible what Miss Lister and Miss Kane do with these kids. It's really incredible. So I never used to go to shows. Now I go see it twice. It's really worth it. It's approaching sports. It's
Mr. Sean Mead, principal.
You can sit up wherever you need to be, wherever you'd like to be. We'll work around you. Good evening. Thank you for coming to the Batchelder School. I can't remember how many years on my historian. This would be 5 or 6 that you guys have been visiting the schools, which is a nice time for us to be able to showcase some of the wonderful things that are happening at the elementary schools every single year. So we appreciate you taking the time to have a road game and come down and visit the schools. Tonight we have a few pieces to go through. It's been a little while since we brought out some of our instrumental students. If you've been able to see any of our holiday concerts, Miss Kristen Dye is our instrumental teacher. She works both here and at the middle school, working with our 4th and 5th grade students. Followed by that, we're going to transition into some of the digital learning work that we've been doing with some of the new positions that we've added to the elementary schools this year. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about one of our positive behavior initiatives that we started this year called Spotlight. So in keeping the agenda moving, I would like to turn it over to Kristen Dye.
Good evening, everybody. We have before you 3 of my flute students. They're in 5th grade. And then you're going to hear from Charlie Capobianco, who's also in 5th grade. Here we go.
God that was Charlie's piece, or I would have had him start the whole evening. I probably could have got bumped up on the agenda.
It's a great way to get a standing ovation.
It was too, he got everybody does it. Thank you, Ms. Dye. Excellent work, boys and girls, boy and girls. Next, digital learning at the elementary schools. We went from last school year to this school year, from having one digital learning teacher split time between the 3 elementary schools to now we have 3 digital learning teachers on a rotation. So Miss Chris Lindsay spent the first trimester of the school year here at the Batchelder School, working with our teachers, co-teaching different strands and units. So we thought it'd be important for her to come by, work with the teachers that she was with to showcase some of the things that we've been doing in our classrooms with our students during digital learning time. Chris?
So, hi, my name is Chris Lindsay. As Mr. Clean said, I'm new to the district this year, and Jen Pastorino, a first grade teacher, Liz Dill, who unfortunately is sick and not here, a group of students and I are really excited to share what we've been doing during digital learning this fall. As Mr. Clean said, it's a co-teaching model, which I think is a great thing about the program, so that I meet with the classroom teachers regularly and we come up with lessons and projects, and we make sure that they're really bringing digital literacy skills to the students that I'm really concerned about, and then the classroom teachers that the core academic skills and content knowledge is being brought into this. So it's not a standalone technology class, that it really is bringing all content areas together. And I'd say the 2 main goals here are, 1, to get students at a very early age interested in programming. I think we've all heard that there's a shortage in people in our country that can program and have these jobs, and so you can kind of see that from this slide. So our hope is that at a really early age, when the kids get, if the kids get excited about programming, that they'll keep with it and hopefully major in this in college. And things like that. So to get them excited about it, we did the Hour of Code, which you might have heard about, that millions of students all over the world participate in every December. And what we did during that time was we brought in parents and a friend or 2 who are programmers, who are actually in the field, so that students could learn about it from them. And this is a 4th grade parent, and she came in and she works for a company that makes drugs for cancer patients. So it was great because she told them about what it's like to be a programmer, but then also what it's like at her company and working in the field of science. So it got kids excited who might be interested in science as well. So that's one goal. We, of course, know that not every kid is going to become a programmer. So it's also the idea that by programming, the kids are really developing fundamental skills that they'll use in any career that they choose. And so here's a quote right here from Bill Gates. And these skills really are, for instance, problem solving. You'll see the kids are going to show some projects, and you'll see that they're really having to, when they create the programs, they're having to debug them to figure out why they're not working. Sequencing, they're going to figure out why things aren't happening in the order that they wanted them to. And collaboration skills, a lot of our challenges during digital learning involve teamwork and working in teams. Okay, so we want to show you a couple things we're doing, and the first thing is that the younger students are using these robots called B-bots, and you can kind of see from the picture why they're called that. And Jen Pastorino is going to come up and sort of describe what the students did with these B-bots.
I'm right behind you.
Oh,
here I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here I am. Okay, so as Chris mentioned, it is digital learning. Our digital learning time is definitely a collaborative effort. So we wanted to make sure that we pulled as many classroom skills into the digital learning time as we could. And so when her and I met, and when she met with some of the other first grade teachers, we decided to use, I have these cards in my hand because some of you won't be able to see, they're placed on the map. We use, first graders, what are these? Are what?
Trick words. Sight words.
Our sight words, yes, good job. They are, some of us are a little nervous over here. These are actually our sight words, so they're words that children have to memorize by sight. And they are consistent across all 3 first grades here at the Batchelder School, so we made these colored cards, and they're just sort of randomly placed on the maps. And so then what would happen is the kids would have to go ahead and move. You'll see they're going to program their B-bot to move from a start position to one of these words. So the child has to be able to recognize and read the words that are on the map. And so they play with a teammate. So first graders, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's go. Come on over. We're going to do a little demonstrating for you.
Come on, don't be shy. You can do it. Okay, remember where you partnered up? Okay, so what you'll see is this is an EBOT, appropriately named, and it will start in the starting position, and then one partner will go ahead and tell another partner which word they want him or her to move to. And so then the partner has to go ahead and figure out what necessary steps to take and how to program the EBOT to get to that word. Okay, so are you ready?
And I did bring the rug out if you want to get up and get a little bit closer to be able to see what's going. You can feel like you can get up and
We would love to have
mix and mingle.
Absolutely, we'd love to have you come up and try it out after the kiddos do their demonstration. Okay, so you ready? All right, partner number one. You're going to tell your partner what word they're going to move to. Okay? All right, go ahead. All right, so ready? Okay, go ahead. Find your word. Fine, go ahead, honey.
Good, do you tell it?
All right, so you have to go to home. Remember how to say your terms. Go, down.
All right, Alberta, let's see what you got.
Pretty good.
Okay, did you ever turn it? Yeah, okay, go ahead, just go away. Yes, go on, if you want to try that now. Now, pick it up and try to just do it. Line is here, line is there.
Yeah, she did clear it. Yeah, clear it. But she has to clear it.
That's good.
Alright.
One in the pink. Nora.
As you can see, they could do this all day. In digital learning, with the work of the teachers and the classroom and the digital learning teachers, have found different ways to engage student learning, which has been pretty exciting for us as adults to watch the students be able to interact, engage, and challenge one another. All right? So boys and girls, at this time, we're going to move on up. Are we okay to do that?
Yeah, no, we're good.
To the third grade lesson. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, can you just pick your V-bots up, power down, stand up, take a nice bow or a curtsy, whichever you prefer. And then I'm going to throw the mic back to Miss Lindsay.
Okay, so third grade, moving up a little bit, used an app for most of the digital learning time called Scratch Junior, and it's developed by MIT, and it was made for younger students to get them, like we were talking about, excited and sort of learning how to program. So Liz Hill, who couldn't be here, wrote a little, just a quick little intro about the project we did, and she wrote, third grade students study the solar system as part of our No Atom science curriculum. It is usually an area of high interest for the students, and typically we like to do some kind of informational writing project to extend what they are learning in science across the curriculum. Because Chris is responsible for teaching the programming component of digital learning, we wanted to find a way to incorporate our science with the skills the students were learning during digital learning. Scratch Junior became a great medium for having kids incorporate their science knowledge with their new digital learning skills. We guided students through a basic research process about a planet using several of the student-safe databases available to our students. Then students were asked to take the information they had learned and create a slide animation in which characters would share information about the physical characteristics of the planet and other interesting information students wanted to include. It was a very challenging project, but the final results were really impressive. As a teacher, teaching across the curriculum is so important, and this project gave students the opportunity to demonstrate what they were learning in a non-traditional format, which was a great learning opportunity for all of them. So that you can see a couple examples, I'm just going to start this app, and Finn is going to show us his project. And what was your planet? You were Earth. Okay, so we're going to see Finn's. Do you want to come up here, Finn? Okay. So here is his project that he made, and you can see toward the bottom. Do you want to talk a little about how you made this whole thing work?
On every slide there are characters in the setting, and you can make the characters move around the page and talk. You have to fit the blocks together in a certain order to make the characters do what you want. For example, on the side, I had to put all the blocks together and then add that last thing on the end where it has a different picture, which switches the slide. And
so you can see for here that he has two characters and he's programming the characters. So he's having the astronaut get smaller, move, talk, and then he sends a message at the end to Talk, the other character, and then that's when Talk knows. So there's a lot of having to figure out the order that you want things to happen in and sending things back and forth. So here is his final product. Who's going to read it?
hi, welcome to the Earth is mostly made of rock. Earth has a lot of clouds, also Earth has no rivers. Earth is the most colorful planet. In our solar system. Earth is located in our solar system. Is it located inside the asteroid belt? Is that what makes the alien fun? Yeah. I understand the Earth's in the moon. Earth's in the moon. Here are some cool facts about Earth. Earth takes 365 days to orbit the sun. It also is the only planet with life.
That's it, right? Okay, great. And now Eulalia is going to show her. We want you to see one more project. So are you ready? You're going to read yours? Get right on. Okay.
Hi, welcome to the classroom. What is Mars made of? Mars is made of rock and iron. What's iron? Iron is a type of metal. How big is Mars? Mars is the second smallest planet. Did you know Mars is the fourth planet from the Sun? Mars is one of the inner planets because it is located inside the asteroid belt. Mars has 2 moons orbiting it. Mars's moons' names are Me, Phobos, and Me, Deimos. We are shaped like potatoes. Mars was named for the Roman god of war. On Mars, it can get to be about 28 degrees Fahrenheit, 33 degrees Celsius, and it cools to about 118 degrees Fahrenheit.
All right, that's the end.
One thing I liked about Scratch Junior was getting to make your own story and be creative. You can take whatever idea is in your mind and make a great project. One thing that was hard about Scratch Junior was not getting confused and getting the computer to do what you want. For example, the first slide had so many envelope icons to send messages between characters. All of my characters were talking at once. I had to keep trying to figure out what to do. My advice for first-time users is to make sure you always reset the slide before you begin the animation again.
Thank you, and thank you for that.
Gives you a small sample of some of the things that are going on in our school, which with the digital learning component, from the programming to the sharing information that they're learning about. It's all different ways for kids to demonstrate their learning. Finally, I'm going to bring up Mrs. Weiss and Mrs. DiDonato. They're going to share a little bit about a new program that we started this year. As part of our positive behavior, over the past few years, we've done Copying Good and Bulldog Pride, different programs for students in K-3 and students 4 to 5. And last year, starting with a group of teachers, wanted to work on a new model. And this is a program that we're using K to 5. It's something the students and the teachers are all very excited about. Turn the mic over.
Hi, I'm Beth Weiss, the PE teacher here, and I'm here with Nicole DiDonato, a 3rd grade teacher. As Mr. Colleen just mentioned, working with many other teachers in the school, we were able to create a new character education program to kind of change the culture and the environment of our students. And we have many students that are going to help introduce that to you, so here they are.
In an effort to develop important character traits among all students, teachers at the Batchelder School have developed a new program called Spotlight. Throughout the year, we focus on 5 different traits: respect, effort, leadership, citizenship, and perseverance. Each month, we shine a spotlight on a specific trait. Students spend time in class defining these traits and discussing what they look like and feel like in a school setting. At the end of each month, teachers recognize students who exemplify these traits at a whole school assembly. Students receive a special certificate and are featured on the Spotlight bulletin board.
Leadership. What is it? Set a good example, make good choices and help others do the same. Be a helpful and good friend at all times. Do the right thing even when it's hard. Ignore inappropriate behaviors. This year, I'm going to work hard to accomplish my goals while encouraging others to achieve their goals. I will lead by example.
Citizenship. What is it? Take time to say hi, goodbye, please, thank you, and excuse me. Help solve problems in the community. Take care of the school environment. Put others' needs before your own. Encourage others to make the school a safe place. We have a Thanksgiving tradition in the Batchelder School. Faculty, staff, and students collect food items to fill baskets and to be donated to local families in need. This is an example of being a good citizen, by putting others' needs before our own and taking the time to care for those in our community.
Respect, what is it? Be an active listener, treat others the way you want to be treated, use polite words when talking to others, leave areas neater than you found them, think about how your actions affect others. In 4th grade this year, we talked about respect and what it looks like in our school. This is the respect star that I created. It helps remind me every day that my actions affect others.
Effort. What is it? Try your best. Use different strategies to problem solve. Strive to be independent, but ask for help if needed. Stay focused until the task is complete. Manage your time wisely. Be an equal team player. This year in 5th grade, we have many curriculum challenges on our plate. It is essential that we try our best.
Perseverance. What is it? Do not give up even when the task is hard. Be patient if something takes longer than expected. Keep a positive attitude. When frustrated, take a break and try again. Be a problem solver and try many different strategies. In my class, we learned about the life of Wilson Bentley, a man who persevered to be able to take photos of individual snowflakes. He never quit, and because of that, today we can marvel at his beautiful photos. This year, I have set a goal to persevere in math. Even when things are hard to understand, I will try different strategies to solve a problem and never give up. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure sharing this program with you.
Those are the few items that we really wanted to share with you tonight. Feel free, if you have any questions, you can ask. There's still some faces around. If I don't know the answers, I will hand off to them. But I want to thank all the professionals that stayed to help the students present tonight. I think they did a fantastic job. It's not easy, whether you're 6 or 11, to get up and speak to a large group of people. So it's a great skill for them to be working on. I'm proud of all of them. So thank you. Any questions?
Yes, I love the fact that they're learning to read and kind of doing that robotics thing, like learning code. And then they did it with science. Are they integrating technology with music in any way, shape, or form? Like sometimes we have keyboards on.
So the keyboard curriculum, so the music teacher per se does not have a digital learning time with her students. But any of those projects that are shared between an educator and a professional, like Kristen Dye uses a lot of the technology, but I think a lot of it has done things that she's brought into her programs and helping with students. I don't know if, Chris, if you've had any lessons. I haven't seen any yet that you've taken into the music content.
I know the music teacher at the back does a lot. She has a smartphone in the room, and she's always bringing in like different resources and things from. So I've like worked with her on that, on finding resources and bringing them in, and showing the kids a lot of like people performing and things using that technology.
How many students do you have that are taking some sort of instrument lesson at the school, and what grade do they start?
Did you hear that question?
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I'm glad you're still here.
I start in 4th grade, and I only have them for 2 years here, but I have about 80 students between the two.
And do you see an increase of, is there a gradual increase that you notice?
Yes, actually, I have at least, I aim for about 66% of each class to start, and I hope to retain about 90% of that number, which is usually what I get both years. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm lucky.
Question for Mr. Colleen. The Spotlight program, was that created by the staff here? And how did you go about selecting those core values?
That's a great question. I'm actually going to give that over to the teachers, if that's okay.
Sorry, I just couldn't hear that well. Could you re-ask the
The
question?
Spotlight program that you're implementing, was that created by the staff? And then how did you go about selecting the core values?
It was a
Collaborative effort.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't just the two of us. There were many teachers involved, many that are here tonight. And we started with an idea that we wanted to take something that we previously had and make it more overarching through the whole school as opposed to two separate programs. And then from there, we came up with some ideas on maybe doing the words or just doing an overarching every month, just having an assembly. And we ended up choosing these words, and then based off of that, we chose certain months to have them in. So they rotate through twice throughout the year, and we have an assembly each month to recognize those students that are meeting those. So it was a big group project with many staff members to create not only the words, but the posters and everything that went along with them as well.
So, I noticed out in the hallway you have a bunch of students, so that's just for the citizenship, and then next month it'll be
Perseverance.
Perseverance, yep.
Exactly.
Don't you recognize staff members too?
We do recognize staff members as well.
That's a nice thing.
Everyone should take a look at the poster on the way in. Especially you and I.
We're going to go ahead and take like a 3-minute break just to let those who need to go, and those who want to resituate themselves. So we convene in 3 minutes.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, reopen this meeting. Next on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, see you around.
Next on the agenda is a discussion around creating a safe and supportive school environment. I'd like to make a couple of announcements, please. When you speak, please come to the podium, state your name and your address. Please keep your dialogue of what you're speaking to 2 to 3 minutes. Only one person speaks at a time, please. I'd like to keep this under like 45 minutes because we still have other things on the agenda that we need to get to as well. And with that, I'd like to state, I believe as a school committee, that we do not feel that we are lobbying for or advocating for anything. We're here to make sure that our school has a safe environment for all kids. And with that, Mr. Superintendent, is there anything that you would like to say before I open it up?
Madam Chairman, thank you. I know some folks have some strong feelings about the discussion to take place tonight, and I appreciate people who have contacted me to share their feelings personally with me, and those that are here this evening. I think it's my belief that the school committee, from its last meeting, felt it was appropriate, and I happen to agree to put this on as an agenda item for people to come and share their thoughts and express their concerns, and for the committee and for me to hear those, respond either appropriately as we can tonight, or maybe take some things under advisement for further action.
If anyone would like to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address.
Thank you for having this meeting. I'm Chris Mino, 10 Mount Vernon Street in North Reading. I'd like to discuss 2 issues that we discussed at the last meeting, and I'd like some clarification on them. First of all, I've gone to the State House to research the records on the public hearing on October 6th of last year. And the evidence is conclusive that Assistant Superintendent Daly testified in support. This is the sign-in sheet. When you testify at the State House at a public hearing, you are either supporting or opposing a bill. He signed in supporting HB 1577. The public records of his transcript is here in support of 1577, and I have the recording right here of the actual hearing where he says that he is supporting 1577. Furthermore, in the joint letter that he and Superintendent Bernard signed and distributed, including to our state representative and senator, they quoted directly from Mr. Daley's testimony in support of 1577 at the State House. Now that is lobbying. I'm sorry, there's no other definition for it. And my question is, did the school committee approve that action by these two gentlemen?
We don't have to approve it.
Pardon?
We don't have to approve it.
But they were speaking on your behalf.
They weren't speaking on the school committee.
No, they said they were. They
don't have
said
to
they
approve
were
the
representing the public schools of
Let me
North
explain
Reading.
to you. If the superintendent or assistant superintendent go to a hearing and say something that the school committee considers outrageous or something that doesn't represent what we feel a superintendent or assistant superintendent should be saying, then we as their, well, we as at least the superintendent's boss, not the assistant superintendent's boss, have a right to call him onto the carpet into an executive session or a public session. You haven't seen that happen.
All right, well, thank you, but I want the record to be clear that they were actively lobbying in support of House Bill 15.
Well,
We would disagree with that.
I think maybe the best way to clarify this is to ask the superintendent and or the assistant superintendent who were there what their position was on the bill. I know that the primary position or the primary reason for being in there was to provide information because we have experience in this particular area. They've communicated, I know with Representative Brad Jones about this, and Mr. Bernard's had discussions with him. So as far as the record's concerned, the record isn't what you say it is, okay? The record is going to be what we believe it to be. And again, when you're signing in opposition or in favor of a bill, I don't think there's any place in there where you sign in for not representing either side. But
You put your name on a piece of paper
so
that you want to
At this time, Madam Chair, if I could, I'd like to ask the superintendent and or the assistant superintendent to kind of clarify the position that they took on this particular situation.
And Madam Chairman, I would just add that the assistant superintendent is here, and he certainly can speak for himself, but I certainly would say that our intention was not to present a position of advocacy or lobbying on behalf of the bill. We were responding to a request that asked that we speak about our experience.
Can you please turn that down while he's
Yeah,
speaking?
can you turn it down so you can, thank you.
Thank you.
To speak about our experience in North Reading in working with transgender youth. And I maintain today that was the position that we took. I will acknowledge that I think that in our letter, asking our state legislators to consider the experience that we've had in Saugus in dealing with this issue in North Reading certainly does lend itself to be interpreted as though we were saying that the experience that we've had was something that we felt should be considered as people contemplated extending those accommodations outside of schools. I'll acknowledge that. But the word lobbying or advocacy does not appear in the letter. I've spoken, as Mr. Venezia said, with Representative Jones. He contacted me very recently, and I would urge others to contact him and ask him if he took the letter that we sent as advocating for this bill. I know what he told me. I'll let him address that with others if they inquire.
Let me clarify this as well. The school committee has not taken a position on 1577. We haven't recommended it, we haven't taken it up. I'm not sure that anybody in the school committee, I'm only speaking for myself here, has any interest in taking it up. It's a bill that does not deal with the public schools. My opinion on that bill is, I don't think is important. What's important is the way we're handling the situation in district. Okay? So that bill is outside the scope of what we're doing here. It does not apply to the schools. As you're well aware, Chapter 199 of the Acts of 2011 of what we're operating under here in district schools.
All right, so that asks, again, I asked Superintendent Bernard for policy regarding transgender students using facilities. He gave me a page-and-a-half document that just said that we would not discriminate against transgender students, which I totally agree. But I want to ask the question specifically. What are the mechanics regarding bathrooms, locker rooms, and shower facilities that are normally sex segregated. What are the policies in the elementary school, in the middle school, and in the high school? We would like to know them specifically, because last week or 2 weeks ago, the superintendent said that he implemented Commissioner Chester's guidance, 12-page document, which was quite specific, but it did have options. So I would like to know, many of us here would like to know, exactly what is the policy, what are the mechanics in each level of school?
I'll be happy to offer an answer. I don't know that I can answer you exactly, because that's a difficult thing to do, because I believe that each situation with a student and a family is different. So what we might do to work with a family to make accommodations for their child A, it might differ from a child B, so to speak, that has a different need. But what I can tell you is, and we have been doing this for some time now in the North Reading Public Schools, is we have been working with students, we've been working with families to make appropriate accommodations consistent with what I believe to be upholding the protections for students under a gender identity classification, and also using the Commissioner's guidance, guiding document that he issued in 2013 to assist us in making those reasonable accommodations for transgender youth. We have been using that guidance.
All right, let me ask specifically then. An 8-year-old boy in the elementary school wants to identify as a girl, self-imposed, which is allowed by Commissioner Chester's guidance without telling the parents, and he wants to start using the girls' bathroom with all the other girls. What is the policy?
Under how you just asked it?
Yes.
I would say it would not be invoked, because it wouldn't be under a self-imposed declaration. It's more than just a child walking into a school and saying today that they believe they are of a gender other than that which they were born. There's a process that's undertaken. So it's not just to answer that question.
Do you involve the parents in that process?
To date, I have, yes. As a principal, I dealt with it only as a principal, primarily, because I have transgender youth at the high school, and I was the high school principal.
Let's go back to the elementary school. But what is...
The answer is, if there's a transgender student right now in the district that identifies with a particular gender, that student, the examples that we have in the way we've done in the past, is that student will be allowed to use the bathroom for the gender that they identify with. That's the direction.
If they want to.
That's the direction we have from the Department of Education. That's the direction we have from the Office of Civil Rights.
So
from the Department of Education.
mingle the anatomy of the students?
Look, you can state things any way you want, okay?
Oh, I'm asking the
But the way
question.
we're doing it now, correct me if I'm wrong, John, is that a transgender student is using the facilities of the gender that they identify with. And that seems to be the law and the policy that's been issued by the Department of Education, by the Office of Civil Rights for the United States Department of Education, and quite frankly, from looking at the Code of Massachusetts regulations, that's the way we've implemented it. Now, I think every situation is different. We're sensitive to the needs of every single student, transgender or otherwise. So we're willing to work with everybody to make sure that everybody has the level of comfort that they're entitled to.
So there is a mingling of the sexes of the anatomy.
When he's finished, you
3 minutes? Did you say 3 minutes?
Good point.
Yes,
All right,
and it
last
has been
question,
8
then,
minutes.
I never got to elementary or middle school or high school, but Commissioner Chester's guidance also encourages the mingling of the anatomies of the sexes on the athletic teams. And what are the policies regarding the locker rooms and showers for someone that wants to identify as the opposite sex and join them?
Well, we've had experience with this.
All right. And
I don't think the policy's any different. It's not.
so they just shower together, and
Nobody
that's...
showers together. We have facilities.
Well, you said you have facilities. Please explain the facilities to me. Is there privacy in those facilities?
Yes. There's individual shower stalls. There are accommodations for kids, and it's not just transgender. Again, we don't have a lot of transgender children in the district, okay? But if we do, we're going to accommodate them in accordance with the law, the way the law is right now. Doesn't matter whether we agree with it or not, okay? That's not our job, is to decide which parts of the law.
I'm asking you now.
The answer is again, that we have private showers.
All right.
Okay? And we also have accommodations for children that want some privacy regarding changing. That's been provided as well. And it's the same the same accommodations that's recommended in some of the directives that we've seen.
Well, I appreciate that. That helps a little bit on this issue. Again, I thank you for the time and the discussions.
I'm Noah Spicer, 13 Swan Pond Road. I'm a high school senior at the North Reading High School, and I have a written statement that I would like to read now. I also have a few copies of it that I may give to the school committee, as well as a few signature sheets that I made. Over the past year, various residents of North Reading have written letters to the editor of the North Reading Transcript and have submitted formal letters of complaint to the school department regarding the department's policy on the rights of transgender students to use bathroom and locker room facilities that meet their gender identities. It has been suggested that the accommodation of this minority of students denigrates the integrity of the rest of the student body. It has been stated that this policy is a clear case of reverse discrimination against the straight and non-transgender community of North Reading Public Schools. It has been clearly charged that this policy is allowing a small population to infringe upon the privacy rights of the other students. There have been charges of opening Pandora's box and making all private spaces gender-free. The students of North Reading High School accept these statements as personal opinion, but they should be in no way allowed to speak on behalf of those who are affected most directly, and those are the students of the North Reading Public School System. Attached here are the signatures of several dozen students of North Reading High School, stating their support for this policy and those students who are at the center of this issue. Their signatures attest to their opinion that their school experience has in no way, educationally or otherwise, been denigrated or infringed upon by this policy currently in place. Their beliefs stated here are that transgender students within our community should be granted the full rights and privileges of all other students, which includes bathroom and locker room facilities, and that our community shall continue to be one of openness and welcoming. May I now pass forward a few copies?
No.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Mr. Venezia had referenced the Office of Civil Rights earlier, and they actually ruled on a case that happened in Palatine, Illinois on November 2nd, and they ruled that students of transgender students must be given the opportunity to use bathrooms, locker rooms, showers, and any other facilities for the sex with which they identify. And Palatine, Illinois lost that case. This is law. It's law of the land. We are implementing the law of the land in this school district. We do it on an individual basis for each student. Mr. Venezia said the students use the girls' room or boys' room, depending on the sex with which they identify. That's true only if they want to. We meet with the parents, we meet with others involved, and we discuss what's most comfortable. Some students have used private restroom facilities in the past. Some have used the facility of their choice, of their gender choice. So I just wanted to make it clear that we're not just kind of making things up as we go along here. This is the Office of Civil Rights. We have to go by the law of the land. The Office of Civil Rights is the law of the land. We've had experience with them before. You don't get to disagree with the Office of Civil Rights, in my opinion.
And again, I just want to point out that our administration, our school district is sensitive to the needs of every single child in the district. We have a lot of diversity. We have a lot of kids with special needs or special accommodations that we have to make for children. So this is nothing unusual. Again, we try to be sensitive, we try to be reasonable, and any student that feels uncomfortable at any time has the right, and we would encourage them or their parents to go to the vice principal, go to the principal, go to the assistant superintendent or the superintendent, and talk to them about it, because we don't want any student to be uncomfortable, whether transgender or not transgender. We care about every single student, and we care about their their comfort, and their privacy.
John Brett, 2 Dogwood Lane. I would like to take exception to what Mr. Webster said about law. This is clearly not the law. Guidelines by the Department of Education in Massachusetts are not the law. The court ruling is not the law. There has been no law passed that allows K through 12 to have gender-free spaces in their locker rooms and restrooms and showers. We talk about rights and tolerance. I have not, at any point in my life, advocated for the denial of rights or the denial of privacy to transgender students. What I'm asking is, how will you guarantee the right to privacy of young women and young men who may not be mature enough or enlightened enough to be able to deal emotionally or mentally with having open locker rooms? The locker rooms are not private areas. There's no curtained areas in the locker rooms in the middle school or the high school, where children of the opposite sex are allowed to wander freely. Yes, there are stalls in the shower, but what happens when that person leaves the shower and enters an open locker room? We are infringing upon the rights of children, not adults, but children, who may not be mentally capable or mature enough to accept or understand that they're in the presence of another gender. And so for the sake of the supposed tolerance and rights of a very small minority in this town, we are sacrificing the rights to privacy of small children, K through 12, and young adults who have no right to privacy under this rule, not a law. I take full exception to the statement by Mr. Webster saying that this is a law. It is not a law. This was a unilateral decision by the school committee under the radar to make our locker rooms, restrooms, and showers gender-free. And I would like to know that my only question as I leave the podium, how will you guarantee the right to privacy of the children in our public schools in an open locker room? Not talking about the showers. Everyone has the right to privacy in the showers. What happens when those children come out of the showers and have to change? There's no privacy in those locker rooms. How are you going to guarantee the privacy of children who may or may not be able to understand what they're seeing, and who may not be mature enough and enlightened enough to want to change in the presence of someone of the opposite sex? I would like an answer to that question. Thank you.
Maybe it's not a law, but when the Office of Civil Rights rules on a case, that has a pretty big implication on how the rest of the school districts have to act in terms of implementing
Will you retract your
laws and
statement as a
guidelines.
law?
No, I won't.
Please don't speak while they're speaking, and if you're going to address, you do need to come up to
You
the
know,
mic.
this is a tough issue. It's a tough issue for us as well. But what I've tried to do is reduce it to the lowest common denominator. And we have a definition of transgender. Okay, we have a definition. That's the law. There's a definition under Chapter 199 of the Act of 2011. There's a definition of the Code of Massachusetts Regulations. So if you buy into that definition, which we have to, that the transgender student is in fact assuming the sex of the gender that they're transitioning into. Once you do that, then you can't discriminate against that person. You have to afford them the opportunity to use the facilities that are used by that particular gender. So that's
Sir,
the way
you
I
can
tried
answer
to
my question.
Again, don't interrupt. Yeah. Don't interrupt. So again, that's the way I try to view this, and it's a tough analysis, to be honest with you. But again, once that person is transgendering or transitioning into the other gender, that's the gender they identify.
There's no law in the books that states that that is a right of the transgender to have access to private areas, open private areas in our public schools, which are not private. And I want to address specifically the locker rooms. You talk about one in and one out of the high school bathrooms. I'm okay with that. How are you going to manage that in the elementary school and middle school? So bathrooms is one. I'm talking about locker rooms. How are you going to guarantee the privacy of non-transgender students in a locker room situation in which transgender students are given the right to use that locker room? Please answer the question and don't divert. Thank you.
You're saying not to divert, I won't divert.
I would offer that the example I talked about on January 4th about the high school bathrooms with the one student in at a time, that still is the practice for a whole different reason. We do have bathrooms at the other levels, middle school and elementary schools, that could be designated as a gender-neutral bathroom if the case were needed. And we do also have that currently at the high school in addition to the other practice. As far as the locker rooms, Mr. Brett, the only example I can give you is that which exists. So that is that we have students that have expressed discomfort changing in front of children of the same sex, of the same gender. And we have modesty panels, modesty curtains that we use. That goes on now. My answer to your direct question about if it were an opposite gender would be that I would need to know from the family and the student of the child who is uncomfortable or believing that a child who is transitioning in gender were to be in the locker room, and what accommodations would make them feel less uncomfortable. I would need to know that, but I can say to you, we would just do what we needed to do, in terms of reasonableness, to accommodate that student too. I believe strongly, Mr. Venezia said it, we would work with that child, we would work with that family to lessen their discomfort to the best of our ability. And I feel confident, my experience tells me that we can be successful in that. It's rooted in almost 30 years of working in public schools. And my faith is in the kids and their parents. They work with us to make it work. It's a very difficult situation. No one's dismissing that. I'm certainly not minimizing that for this community. I feel very badly that it's gotten to where it has. But that's my answer to your question. And I just want to add, as far as something going on, that there's this cloak and dagger effort, I have to take exception to that. This has been going on for 3 years. Before I was the superintendent, it was going on when I was the high school principal. There has been nothing clandestine about this. We had a public forum last May for this community that was extremely well attended, and I'll speak for myself. I was enlightened at that forum. I learned a lot, and it was a good experience for me. You heard the high school students speak tonight. It's about a grassroots conversation that takes place with a family. The kids get it. They understand it. They understand the complexities of it. I believe that. And they will work with us to make it work. Parents have been extremely reasonable. I think this has been a very difficult situation for those few families where it's arisen in North Reading. I can only imagine how difficult it's been for them. I don't think any child wakes up with a desire to have this be the situation that they're confronted with. But just like anybody else, we will work with the family to make sure that their interests are preserved to the best of our ability. And I feel very confident that we can accomplish that.
And it may be that we're going to have to take a look at making some adjustments in the locker rooms. We may have to take a look at accommodating students so that they're afforded more privacy. It's something that we had actually discussed when we were building the new high school and middle school, because this came about around the same time. And it didn't get built into the architect's plans, but it's something that, again, we may have to look at. Right now we have private shower stalls with curtains, but you're right, the changing accommodations are not ideal. We may have to do something with that. We may have to make some accommodations in the bathrooms. But as far as John had pointed out, there are other options, but again, we cannot direct a child to go to a private bathroom or another locker room. We cannot discriminate against them in that way. Once the transgender child is identified, we have to treat them the same as every other person of that particular sex. And that's what we're doing now. We're doing it with sensitivity, and we're doing it trying to accommodate everybody.
And just to Jerry's point on the State Department of Education, Secretary of Education strongly recommends that districts include an appropriate number of gender-neutral restrooms commensurate with the size of the school and at least one gender-neutral changing facility in the design of new school and school renovations. Our problem was that our school was already designed when these regulations came about, so we couldn't address them.
And even with gender-neutral bathrooms, it's optional. It's optional. The student doesn't have to use that. A lot of students,
right.
What I've read in some of the cases that I've read, feel ostracized if they need to go to a different location to change or a different location to go to the bathroom. So.
Hi, Rich McGowan, 46 Chestnut Street. Before I make my comment, Mr. Bernard, just to clarify what we were talking about before. Has any student or family expressed discomfort and asked for accommodations because of transgendered students using a bathroom not aligned with their sex?
No.
I don't know the law. Thank you guys for having this discussion. I think it really is important. I don't know the law. I can guess what the courts would say if it ever came up, if we were ever brought to court, but that would just be a guess as well. I know what's right. I know that if we cannot provide a safe environment for every student in North Reading, regardless of their socio or economic background or any number of other ways, and they might be considered different from everyone else, then we've failed as educators in North Reading, and failed in providing a school system. So it seems to me that there's no question about the right approach here is to do what we can to accommodate these students as they come forward.
My name is Adrienne Callahan. I live at 10 MacArthur Road, and I thank you all for grappling with this difficult situation. I just wanted to put out for consideration of people that Boston Children's Hospital has a Department of Gender Identification, and I believe many other large children's hospitals do. And if gynecologists and obstetricians at the time of birth often can't tell the gender of a child, it's pretty hard for other people just looking to. But there are other related. I think the decision does indeed rest with the individual, and it is a matter of civil rights. Recent genetic studies have proven that it is not unheard of for individuals to have a mix of XX chromosomes and XY chromosomes in their body. And recent tests are able to determine that it's not just a whim or a psychological decision of the individual as to what gender they are, but I do think in the end that it is a psychological decision as well, and that the decision should rest with the individual.
My name is Michelle Spur. I live at 38 Park Street in North Reading, Massachusetts. I challenge any of you that are sitting here tonight to think in your head what it would be like if your child came to you and said, I have something going on. I think that I need to speak to someone. I am the parent of a transgender youth in this community. My daughter is now my son. I am proud of this child for not only who he is today, but who he challenges every one of us to become. This was not an easy thing to go through. We were at a doctor's appointment today. This is not something that he woke up one morning and said to me, hey mom, today I want to wear blue instead of purple. My child identified as a female all growing up. It was something that took me by surprise. It doesn't matter if it takes me by surprise. This is not about me. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about these children and what we can do to better their lives. This is not about what bathroom I want to use. This is about what's best for my child and her child and your child and your child. And yes, they are children. But I guarantee you that these children are making more adult-like decisions than the majority of the people that are sitting in this room tonight. These children think, these children decide, these children empower those of us who are around them to be better and stronger and more open and understanding on a daily basis. I sat at a trans youth summit last year and cried hysterically, sobbing. I didn't know what to do, I didn't know how to do it, and I had certainly no direction in which to flow. The people in this room who know who you are, who sat with me that day, and helped me to understand, and helped me to garner the strength to stand behind my child who had more courage and determination and adult-like decisions than I have been able to make in my life. I challenge each of you to think about those children. When you're worried about the bathrooms, when you're worried about, my child took PE last year. My child was in that locker room. Not one parent from North Reading called me and said, oh my goodness, my child has seen something they've never seen before. If there's an issue, these people are making strides. I commend each and every one of you. I commend our town and what they have done for our children. These are our children. They're not mine or yours or yours. They're ours, and we are responsible as a community. If we stand and say, this is wrong, I don't believe in it, then what are we teaching the 8-year-old that supposedly was afraid in the bathroom having to go with another child? My kids have been peeing together their whole lives. They all know the differences in gender. They understand. It's what we put in their heads that makes it difficult for them. If I say to my child, oh, there's a little girl that used to be a little boy and we can't talk about it because it's bad, naturally that child is going to be confused. My phone number is on everything. Again, my name is Michelle. My last name is Spur. I will put it out there. I'm on Facebook. I'm on everything. If you don't know me yet, congratulations, you will now. I will answer any question that I have the ability to answer. If I don't know the answer, I know some amazing people that do. And if you think that this is a decision that any child makes, come and sit with us at a therapy session. Come and sit with us at a doctor's appointment, because we started all of that today. And that's I challenge each of you. And thank you so much again. I truly appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Jody Cloney. I live at 365 Park Street. This issue is obviously very personal to me, but more importantly than that, I wanted to stand up and say thank you to Dr. Daly and Mr. Bernard for doing what was right. Today it was for my kid, but this is what educators do every day. They worry about your kid in the school and outside of the school. And to make them defend caring about what happens to my kid is wrong. And I don't want to live in a town where we don't encourage our educators to care about our kids all the time. That's all I wanted to say. Anyone else like to?
Yeah, I'd like to speak. Thank you. George Ray, 103 Havel Street. I appreciate your comments, and I don't think there's anyone in America or anyone here in North Reading that would discriminate against your son or daughter. That's not the issue. What we're doing in Massachusetts, and we've been doing it for quite a while, is that we sacrifice the rights of others to promote the rights of a few. That's what's going on here. And that's the tragedy, because there are going to be other minority groups that step forward that you're going to disagree with, but you're not going to be able to argue against it, because there is such an open-mindedness about all of this. I take personal exception, sir, Mr. Webster, to you coming and telling us that this is the law. I find it reprehensible that a member of this committee would come and share that and try to frighten us into believing that this is, sir, let me finish, that this is what we are called to do and to believe, simply because you pull out a case from another court. And that, to me, is very disdainful. The deeper issue for me, even more than this transgender issue, is our school members and our employees going forth to the State House, sir, and representing the people of this community. We have elected you as our leaders. We have elected you to protect and defend the population of this community. We have elected you to give guidance to all of these schools and the employees. And it seems to me that what you have done is you have given up your rights to be our lawful representative before this assembly. So to me, that is quite concerning. These young children, and I would take exception to Michelle, you did a loving job and I appreciate what you said. Children are impressionable. Certainly our esteemed educators know that. And they are forming opinions and mindsets. And they are, in some measure, very impressionable. And this is not about civil rights. It has nothing to do about civil rights. It has to do with abrogating the rights, I believe, sacrificing the rights of young children on the altar of social engineering. That is what is going on here tonight. It is what has gone on in Massachusetts and will continue to go on unless somebody has the courage to stand up and say, enough.
I'd just like to respond. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'd also like to respond that this is a civil right according to the Office of Civil Rights, and I think the Office of Civil Rights knows what a civil right is by its name, and by only its name. It's the Office of Civil Rights. Third, I support what our administration did. I support I support what they're doing in our schools, and I feel that I'm representing this town in supporting that. If the people don't like that, vote me out of office.
Sir, we will.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray, if I might. The law is you cannot discriminate against transgender
Exactly.
students. That's
We agree
the
with
law.
that.
Okay?
Yes.
That's the law.
We agree with
Anything that would be determined to be discrimination against any transgender student is a violation of the law.
Right.
We have to interpret that, interpret it this way based on the guidance that we've received from the Department of Education and the Office of Civil Rights from the United States Department of Education. The law is you cannot discriminate.
Sir, I could not agree more.
Thank you.
I could not agree more.
Just a second, it's my turn.
Okay.
I've been quiet, and I've sat here and listened to these allegations, and I can tell you that it's all baloney. You're saying that it's not the law. It is the law, that we cannot discriminate.
No, it isn't,
It is
sir.
the law that we cannot discriminate. Don't tell me that it isn't, because I've read the law.
It isn't.
It is, I'm not an attorney, but it is the law.
Discrimination
It is
law does
only
not
the law,
cover
but it
Please,
is-
excuse me, one person at a time, sir.
You know, hey, I got some rights here. I've been a citizen of this community for 100 years, and I at least get some chance. I've been on this board for almost 8, and I have some rights in speaking. We have read the regulations that came from the law and the implementation of the law, the guidance that was provided to us that we should take into account. We developed policy on that. I've been on the policy subcommittee since I've been on this board. And we developed a policy consistent with the law and with the regulations. And in addition to that, we ran that out past our attorneys to make sure that we were on firm foundations and doing the right thing. We did that. And then from that, policies are developed, and then the administration has the job of carrying those policies out. They have to develop regulations and implement them. That was 3 years ago that we did that. And we've run this operation for 3 years, and believe it or not, as you've heard tonight, we haven't had a hiccup from the community. Not a hiccup. Nobody has complained. Nobody that's not transgender, nobody that's transgender has complained. We've had a very successful implementation. This committee has observed that successful implementation. We're not the only ones that have observed that. We're one of a few communities in the Commonwealth that have done the whole process and done it well. And therefore, we were invited to come to the State House to testify what we've been doing, how we've been carrying that out, because other people want to know how we've carried that out and been successful at it. And as a result, we've had the superintendent and the vice superintendent, the assistant superintendent, has gone to the State House and explained the circumstance, what we have done. It's been highly successful. It isn't a bunch of kids running around in and out of locker rooms of a different sex. That isn't happening. It isn't promiscuous operations going on. What we have done is highly successful in being sensitive to everybody, every single student. Because our objective, the whole time I've been on this committee, our objective has been to treat every child as an individual. We go through all kinds of pain to do that, all kinds. And we have been very, very successful at it. It's why people flock to this community, because we've been so successful at it. And I'm taking a lot of exception to the crap that we've been putting up with here tonight from a few people who just can't get with the program, that think that they're all-knowing and more competent than everybody else in the world, and have all kinds of thoughts on what's happening. We're not running any kind of an operation that you're thinking of. We're running a very kind and sensitive and compassionate operation. And it's been successful. And we expect that you understand that. So you can talk all you want. As far as I'm concerned, we follow the law. We follow the direction and implementation as it was thought through by the DESE. And if you think you can do better, run for school committee.
Thank you.
Give it a shot. And I'll bet you won't get elected.
Mr. Bowers, may I respond to that, Mr. Chairman?
I have someone at the...
Well, he was talking to me, so may I just...
I was talking to everybody. I wasn't talking to you.
Oh, come on. I appreciate your comments, sir. So what you have just shared with me is that this committee tasked these representatives from our community, these employees of North Reading, to go and represent us. That's news to me. That's what you said.
We didn't task them.
Sir, that's exactly what you just said.
Carry out the policy.
They were asked by us to come to testify.
We pay them a lot of money to think and
Yes, you
act.
do.
Think and act on our behalf.
Yes.
When we see that they're not thinking and operating on behalf of the town, we will take action. But so far, we haven't seen anything like that.
And then, Mr. Bowers, I pray that I will never accept as norm what you and others are positioning us to believe is normal. May God help us, and God help me, never to
You're
fall in
poking
that
the wrong end of that stick.
No, sir,
Gentleman
I
at
said
the
what I'm
podium,
going to say.
would you like to step forward?
Wow, this evening's gonna happen. Hi, my name is Steve Sigmund. I live at 418 Park Street. Quite frankly, I was actually dumbfounded that this was even happening, like that we were actually arguing over these things. unfortunately, Mr. Bowers pretty much stole all of my thunder, because I was going to say pretty much the exact same things that you were, sir. I absolutely applaud the superintendent and the assistant superintendent for their actions, and there's a few people here who need to get with the program, and that's all I did say.
Thank you.
I just want to say that people are, I understand why people are here and they're expressing their opinions and their feelings. They don't have to agree with this. We're not suggesting you have to agree with it. The purpose of tonight's meeting was to have an open discussion and try to educate people on what we're doing here. So that was the purpose of the meeting. So I'm glad we had it. I think it's a good discussion. I think it's educational for everybody. And again, I respect people if they have an opinion that's different than ours. That's the United States of America, I think. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It's just that it's coming up on 45 minutes. I'd like to get this wrapped up because we do have other things on the agenda. By all means, go ahead.
Ken Tarr, 14 Winter Street. I just want to say that unfortunately, I wish that Reverend Ray had stayed to hear the comments. I talked to the school committee and to the administration about the potential of having another meeting as we did last spring. Now that people are more aware, I think that if we had a meeting to help people come and become educated of how things actually work and what it's like to be transgender and be living in the transgender community, that I think the more that you know, the less unfounded fears there are. You know, to say that we've got to draw a line in the sand and stop somewhere, I look at that as we're growing, shouldn't be stopping progress. We should be continuing to go with progress. And I, again, commend our officials for looking out for the safety of the students, both in the school day and outside in the school community. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Claudia Brown.
Oh, 1 minute, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Julie. My name is Julie Kopke, as you can see. I feel that our administration is doing a phenomenal job balancing the needs of all of our students on a case-by-case basis. I have an elementary child as well as a middle school child. I do not have any fears or worries of their being in a bathroom or a locker room with one of their transgender peers. When Dr. Daly spoke at the State House, he was speaking as a staff member. He was invited by the state. He was not one of us, your elected officials. And I just want to reiterate what so many people have shared tonight, that this is really what's best for all of our students.
Yes, sorry about that.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
my fault. Thank you. My name's Claudia Brown. I lived in town for 25 years at 6 Oak Knoll Ave, but I've been a teacher in North Reading for 18 years. Proud to be a teacher. Actually, I'd have on a I love all kids sticker if that was appropriate. I'd like to thank all of you for hosting this discussion tonight. But the thing I really want to emphasize is that something I emphasize in my classroom at the high school every day is I think sometimes we see anger, and what that anger really is fear of things that we don't understand. I certainly have grown a lot because of the students that I teach and because of the people I work with. And I wondered if you might turn around and say hello to one of the people who you don't know in this room tonight. I'm happy to introduce myself to all of you and to understand what your misgivings are and fears and to try to understand each other. Otherwise, we're going backwards rather than forward.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Lowe, 16 Pleasant Street. I'm also a teacher. I've taught since 2003. I'm on a leave of absence. I have 2 young children. What you guys are doing here is done in Revere as well, which is where I've taught. I've also been able to teach many students, but I've also taught students that are transgender, and I think that it's really important. In the school I teach in, the school here, you have words like respect on the wall. You want all kids to feel respected, to feel part of their community, to feel wanted. And for transgender people in general, it is a matter of life and death. I mean, transgenders have some of the highest rates of homelessness, addiction, and suicide. So we really want to make sure that kids feel included and welcome and part of our community, because if we don't do that, then literally the literal effect of that could be death. So I want this community to be open and to be accepting.
Super brief. First, I'd like to correct Mr. Bowers again regarding the law, for the record, that this is not the law.
We get it.
So we've heard a lot tonight about protecting against discrimination of transgender. I'm totally for that. Okay. We've heard almost nothing. We've heard very little about how we're going to protect against the discrimination of non-transgender. We've heard a tiny little bit about possibilities with regards to locker rooms becoming private. In order to get with the program in this indoctrination session here, I would like to know what the school committee and the school in particular is going to do as far as expenditures to create locker rooms that guarantee privacy for transgender and non-transgender students, because we don't have them today.
We didn't work that out in our indoctrination practice. Sorry.
I've not heard an answer to that question. Thank you.
I mean, as far as I understand, if the need arises, that we will make accommodations to have separate changing facilities within the locker rooms, be it shower curtain railing system that there's multiple, or privacy screens that we do have a couple of at this point in time.
That's good speculation, but what is the plan?
That would be the plan upon someone coming forward saying that they do not feel comfortable.
And I do want to, again, emphasize, it is the law that we cannot discriminate against any student in the school, and any student in the school includes transgender students.
And
Thank you.
Julie, did you want to?
Hi, my name is Aldevin Longclaw-Bird. I live at 15 Burroughs Road. I'm the mom of a transgender 21-year-old who graduated from North Reading Public Schools. I'm also the author of 3 letters to the editor since the December 10th article in the transcript. My letters have addressed survey results, statistics, and research that demonstrate how vulnerable our transgender children are to discrimination and harassment. I came to support our school administrators, and I asked to speak briefly to put a human face on my letters and to tell you a little about why I'm so passionate about this issue. The first time I spoke publicly to tell my family's story was the same weekend the Disney Pixar movie Brave had come out. I remember telling everyone I didn't have to go to the movie theater to see Brave. I saw Brave every day. Brave was living in my home. Brave is my son Augie. Augie began coming out the summer before 10th grade, and high school was hard. Every morning, Monday through Friday, I watched my brave Augie get up and put on an invisible suit of armor to prepare for another day at school. I could actually see the change if I paid attention. Back then, there was no Gay-Straight Alliance Club, there were no Safe Schools guidelines, and it was hard to figure out where to find support. My son is now a junior in college. He also wrote a letter last week and would have been here tonight if not for his class schedule. Augie was a founding member of the Gay-Straight Alliance Club and was a key player in bringing the club into the high school before he graduated. He now speaks for PFLAG and the Safe Schools program and is thinking of a career in LGBTQ advocacy. The policies being debated affect real people, like my son Augie. There are students like him in our schools now, and they need to know we have their backs. I want it to be easier for them than it was for my Augie. Sometimes all it takes is hearing someone's personal story. Like Augie, I occasionally speak for PFLAG to tell our family's story. I also help facilitate a monthly PFLAG support group in Andover for parents of transgender and gender nonconforming kids. Parents from North Reading come to our meetings, and our group continues to grow. These issues can be hard to comprehend if you don't personally know someone who is transgender and can see how difficult it can be to navigate life in a society that doesn't accept or support them. I'm deeply grateful now that we have the GSA and the Safe Schools guidelines for our students, and I want to publicly thank Claudia Brown and Laura Hargrove for being visible allies in the high school. I also want to thank Patrick Daly and John Bernard for their leadership and their work with Jeff Parati and the Safe Schools program. I know how much it means to our transgender students to live authentically and to feel safe in school. If anyone has questions and wants to talk to another mom of an actual transgender student after this meeting, please come up and introduce yourself. I always welcome the opportunity to talk about my brave Augie. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having this forum and having the opportunity to speak on this issue. My name is Mason Dunn. I'm the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Transgender Political Coalition. I am also a trans person as well as an attorney. And so I just wanted to speak for a moment about some of the things that have been discussed here tonight, both as a trans person as well as an attorney. The state law that keeps getting brought up about discrimination, it does apply to public schools, and it says that trans people cannot face discrimination, or that discrimination is prohibited in public schools on the basis of gender identity. And that includes access to facilities. So discriminating against somebody by denying them access to facilities that are consistent with their gender identity is in opposition to the law. That is prohibited. And so it is prohibited to deny somebody access to those services or accommodations. That is the law. And so I applaud the North Reading schools for being consistent with the law and the guidance that DESE put out in accordance with those laws. I also want to say Title IX is also an issue here. Federal law states that you cannot discriminate on the basis of gender identity. It is included under protections on the basis of sex. So there's not only state law, there's also federal law in question here that the North Reading schools are abiding by in allowing trans people access to gender facilities that are consistent with their gender identity. So state law, federal law, both are applicable here and important to have an awareness for. I also just wanted to briefly mention some of the major concerns and statistics facing trans youth in our schools. One study shows that 90% of trans youth report feeling unsafe in school because of bias against their gender identity, not only from their peers, but from staff and faculty as well. And I'm happy to see that North Reading does not really fall into that 90% issue, that you are truly seeing and accommodating and being compassionate towards trans youth. So thank you for fighting those types of statistics. We also saw that 48% of trans youth report being physically assaulted while in school. The dangers for trans youth in schools are very real. These are not hypotheticals. These are not occasional incidents. These are very real, very concerning statistics that put trans youth in danger. And that is what we're here to deal with today, to ensure that our schools are safe, accommodating, and compliant with the law for all students, and that includes trans students. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but thank you so much for having this forum and allowing me the chance to speak. Appreciate it.
Rita Mullen, 29 Abbott Road, North Reading. I grew up in North Reading High School, in North Reading, and went to the high school. And for the people that are concerned, and I thank you all for having this tonight. I'm sorry that tempers rose back and forth because I really want everybody to get along, and I want everybody to walk away feeling that, you know, we all still love each other. When I was in high school, even though I'm kind of outspoken on a lot of things, extremely shy, that when I got changed, I pulled my curtain, I wrapped my towel around it, I walked into the shower, took my shower, I wrapped it, and I came out. Not realizing it, but we had somebody that is transgender today that was in our classroom, and we never ever realized it. She's a beautiful little girl, that was a great athlete, and decided when she went to a doctor that there were issues bothering her, she's a boy now, and very happy and healthy and safe. What I worry about is transgender is very, very scary. And when I first heard it, the same as Mr. Tar had said earlier, you kind of never heard of it before and didn't know what it was. And then once you did, and you met people that were transgender, it wasn't scary. I grew up in the 60s, and then what happened to all the blacks was very, very scary. North Reading was a very white town. I wasn't, I wasn't afraid of blacks. I was afraid of what happened to the blacks, and every time you turned it on, whether they were blacks or you call them another color or they were Negroes and whatever it was, People made it scary. AIDS was very, very scary. It was nobody's fault that people got AIDS, but it was very, very scary to everybody. I had friends and family that had AIDS. I have friends and families, people with AIDS that committed suicide because they had AIDS and didn't know what to do. Gay was scary. Gay was very, very scary because if you were gay, does that mean that you're going to go into locker rooms and schools to look at people? Anybody, and I say today, if you were to raise your hand, raise your hand if you wanted AIDS, nobody raises their hand. Raise your hand if you wanted to be gay, nobody wanted to do that, because if you were gay, you thought in your mind, I wish I could walk and hold my boyfriend's hand or my girlfriend's hand in public, but I can't do that, because we were brought up that, that wasn't right. Being what they called retarded when we went to school, most of the people that were retarded were put away in institutions. God bless us that we did that to people. How could we have done that? And people that were retarded, now they're special or there's something else. God bless them that what we did to those people because we didn't understand what retarded was. Clergy abuse, no such thing when I was a kid. Read about clergy abuse now, and that was in every religion. I would never believe that there was such a thing as clergy abuse, because if you were clergy, you were God's children, and you were teaching them. And I went to school, and a lot of my friends were Catholic, a lot were Protestant, and we didn't have very many Jewish kids in town. And those that were didn't raise their hand and say, hey, I'm Jewish, because it was a pretty Christian town. Being a parent of any one of those people, you didn't raise your hand and say, my kid's has AIDS, gay, retarded, my brother or father or son was a clergy. You didn't even say that now because you're embarrassed by it. Please don't allow us to go back to where we were and we were so uneducated. Please talk civilly to each other and try to say, I'm sorry, I don't believe that way. If you're not religious and I'm Catholic or go to my school, I don't think any less of you. We think different. All I'm asking everybody today, and especially in this community, especially being a volunteer and knowing how much time it takes to volunteer, whether your decisions are right or wrong, and God knows I've disagreed with many of you over the years. But I have the utmost respect for you all that you come out here and do the very best you can, and that you are trying to educate the community. And when they said, when Mr. Parr said, please come when we have another meeting, please come and listen. And people that might be not understanding transgender, try to work with the school committee then on things that you think might make it more comfortable for your child if there's something you're afraid of. But the best thing you can do is be educated. Thank you very much for allowing us to talk.
Again, I want to go on record, Chris Mino, 10 Mount Vernon Street, that I want the privacy, safety, and modesty for all of our children. ALM, all of our children. I do want to go on record again about this controversy, as my British friends would say, about the law. There is an exemption to the current laws regarding discrimination, regarding single-sex facilities, i.e. bathrooms, locker rooms, showers. The law in Massachusetts now exempts those facilities from mixing the genders. That's what House Bill 1577 is all about, of trying to eradicate that exemption. We believe that exemption is a valid exemption. I want to believe you that you are trying to assure the privacy and the modesty of all of our students. And again, it is not the law in Massachusetts. It's guidance by certain bureaucrats, but it is not the law. Neither Title IX says in the federal law that there be no discrimination, but it doesn't make any provisions for the mingling of sexes. This is something that is being mandated by regulation and directive, not by law. Thank you.
Mary Ann Thomas, 26 Redmond Avenue, North Reading. I just want to say that I was really hurt by all the arguments that were going on here. I don't know anyone personally, but I have watched documentaries on the struggles that happened with the transgender movement, with transgendering. It's difficult. It's a very difficult psychologically. It's difficult physically, and it's difficult emotionally. It's a difficult thing for all the families, for everyone in the community. If you know, I don't know anyone right now. But I was really hurt by this is a loving community. We are a welcoming community. We are known, my daughter just moved back from Wakefield to North Reading because of the school system here. Thank you, Mr. Burnett. Because of the school system. And so I have 3 granddaughters who are now in the system, okay? But I don't want their privacy impinged upon. If they feel comfortable, that's fine. If they don't feel comfortable, I want some accommodations made for them, okay? I don't think anybody here is bigoted in any way. We all have our rights. We have a right to express our beliefs. And I kind of take offense at some people saying that because you don't know or that you're uneducated. I don't think people are uneducated. We do have a right to our own beliefs. But I just want to reiterate that we are a loving, welcoming community, no matter what your belief system is. As a Catholic Christian, we respect everyone. And that's all I have to say.
I just wanted to give, if anybody's interested in looking at this case, I'm not going to say whether it's a law or not anymore because that's gone on enough, but look up the case, the United States Department of Education, Office for Civil Rights, and it involves Township High School District 211 in Palatine, Palatine, Illinois, and see what the OCR has to say in terms of what Title IX has to say about barring transgender students from the bathroom or locker room of their selected sex. That's all I'm going to say.
David Preciado, 42 Bloom Street. You may not recognize me because I had a, well, because I made a boo-boo when I was trimming my beard today, and this is what happened. Newly shaven 15-year-old, so
we know who you are.
I apologize. But no, Rita stole my thunder, and a few other people. You know, there's people on different sides of both of this fence. You know, and whether you agree with it or not, you know, the bottom line is all of our kids deserve rights. They all deserve respect. You know, whether they're transgender or whether they're not. And we need to come together as a community in love, because that's what we need more than anything in this world right now. And I have a small daughter and I have a small son, and whether I agree with some people here or I don't, it's all about love, and it's about us coming together as a community and making sure that our kids have rights. So that my daughter, if she doesn't feel comfortable, can have her own stall, just like your kids can feel like that as well. That's what it's all about. And I'm not going to, you know, go on and talk because enough people have talked. But I did want to say thank you for one thing, because this is my first full school committee meeting, and what I saw from the kids tonight and what they did, I love that. You know, and I hope that one day my 2 kids will be up here doing a demonstration like that, because, you know, for me as a parent to be able to show their skill, and not just in the classroom, but in front of parents, in front of the community, in front of you guys, I think that's awesome. So thank you for having this. I've only been in the community for a couple months, but I love it already, and looking forward to grow as a family here in this community.
We go to every school every year. We go to every school every year, so every school gets to do a presentation for us.
Okay, and if anybody could just get me the information for the North Reading wrestling coach, I can't find it anywhere.
Coaches in Linfield, but he lives in North Reading.
Okay. All right.
I can talk to you.
Thank you.
Participation and keeping the conversation going back and forth, but at this point I would like to close it because we do have other agenda items that we need to do, and it has been. We'll recess for a couple of minutes. For those who want to stay, you're more than welcome. For those who do not, we take this opportunity. This is free.
I just want to thank, I know they left, but I think the community handled this extremely well tonight. People who had differing opinions.
We're entitled to those.
They were entitled to those opinions. I just want to make it clear that the school committee didn't invite anybody here. We didn't invite Pro. We didn't invite Con, our policy. It was open to anybody to come, and I appreciate the way it worked out tonight. I appreciate the actions of the community coming out to support their position one way or the other.
Okay, with that, we will return and go back to our regularly scheduled program. Superintendent Bernard, could you please update us with the MSBA SBC update?
I'd be happy to, Madam Chairman, thank you. Just a few things to report tonight. Weather permitting, and that, of course, this time of year naturally is posing a little bit of a challenge. But the following things are scheduled to be completed. As you may have noticed, the fencing around the practice field has begun. That work will continue. The new field, athletic field where the site of the former high school stood. There was some fencing. I had written transformer. That probably was a poor choice of words. I think generator might have been a better choice of words. But there are some fencing and gate installations to take place around the dumpsters and the generator, the loading dock area at the new middle high school, and also the gate for the Dodge Road access to be installed. I will tell you too, the work is continuing in earnest. Actually, there was some punch list work that was tended to yesterday. It was a good opportunity for folks to get into the building when there was no staff or students in school because of the Martin Luther King holiday. So work on the punch list continues. I also wanted to mention, it's not on your report, but we have dedicated an office space for our project manager and representative of the construction company building, sort of off of Main Street leading into the guidance wing near the middle school office wing. So that seemed to be a little bit, I know some of you might recall we were looking at the library as an option, but I showed this space. It's a little bit bigger office. It's a little closer to an access to the building with the gymnasium entrance, and so that's worked out well. They actually are going to start moving in tomorrow, so we will have folks on site, which I think is a good thing. That's all I have on that, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add?
I think that we're moving along. There's still issues in terms of closing the whole project, but I think we're moving along. I see progress, as Mr. Mayor mentioned, the fence going up. They were working today. Obviously, we're going to be limited by weather. It's supposed to be really cold for the next week and maybe some snow on the weekend. But we're getting there. I mean, my big concern is the fields. I don't think they're going to be ready for next fall. There's no way that we need at least 2 growing seasons, and I just hope they can get done by the spring so we can get the spring growing season. I know, Mr. Clean, we need those fields. I saw you, Steve. But I think we're moving as fast as we can, and I appreciate everything that they're trying to do to get this done.
Next, we will move on to the second reading of policy IC, the curriculum development.
It's just a second reading. First reading was January 4th, 2016.
That was just adding in the phrase gender identity in there, correct?
Correct.
I'll move to approve second reading curriculum, the revision of curriculum development policy IC.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Yes, thank you, the bid results.
Yes, so this evening I would like to discuss the results of the new school bus transportation bid. There was a detailed memorandum and information with the results of the bid, including in your packet this evening. But essentially, this is a required process for us this year because the existing 3-year contract with North Suburban Transportation does expire on this upcoming June 30th. So as a result, we did administer a bid for transportation services as we're required to do under Chapter 30B. The results of the bid was enclosed in your packet. There were 2 bidders that did bid, the existing vendor and company, North Suburban Transportation, as well as North Reading Transportation, provided bids. I will say that I think several factors have resulted in a significant increase in the daily rate for school bus transportation, resulting in our daily price from the existing $284 per bus to what was a low bid of $323 per bus. As detailed in the memorandum, I think certainly reasons behind sort of a shift in the market over the last 2 or 3 years, increasing the daily rate per bus, can be contributed to the Affordable Health Care Act. Certainly companies are feeling that as well, and that's been reflected in the prices of school bus transportation. There's a new sick time law that they've certainly had to abide by, which is impacting the pricing. The need to pay prevailing wage due to a shortage of school bus drivers, as well as the need for new equipment to meet safety requirements and regulations. So I think these 4 main factors certainly can be contributed to why we're seeing a school bus rate go from $284 to what was a low bid of $323. I certainly reached out to area communities when the bid results came in a few weeks ago to see communities that had gone out to bid within the last year, or some of the communities are going out to bid this year. What bus rates they are currently paying, and I did, the results of the area communities, and it was detailed in sort of the last page of the packet, does sort of illustrate that a rate of around $323 does seem to be the going market rate. So I do think that certainly this is what communities in this area are certainly paying for school bus transportation. So
There's a lot that are much higher than 323.
correct. So there's about over 30 communities listed in your packet on the last page, and the average rate is $335. And some of these are FY16 rates, existing rates, and some of the rates for next year. Some of the few communities in the area that have lower rates are below 300. They're actually going out to bid over the next few weeks, and that's an existing rate. For instance, Reading, I know it's listed at $290, but they're going to be going out to bid next year as well. So they'll most likely will see an increase similar to what we have seen.
So Mike, we're talking about a $100,000 difference.
Correct. So
per year.
About $88,000 per year would be the budgetary impact of this increase from $284 per bus per day. We run 10 buses a day. Would be about $88,000.
I'm guessing that money's not in the budget.
It would certainly be a huge challenge as we build the fiscal 2017 budget. Obviously, we're in very much detailed development budget development stages currently in the fiscal 2017 budget. But trying to absorb and work in this increase will certainly be a huge challenge.
This is also something that might get subject to bus user fee as well.
Correct. So we do charge a user fee for families, and that helps offset about half the cost currently that we're currently paying. As you know, we're required to bus students that live in grades K through 6 over 2 miles. And we do that, and then we participate in an optional busing program for students who don't qualify for free busing. And it's about 5 buses that we're required to run to meet the enrollment of students that we are mandated to bus. And about the user fee is students that participate in the optional program and pay for a bus pass. Brings about an additional 5 buses, total 10 buses.
I'm assuming our current bus fee will not cover this additional $88,000.
That's correct.
Something we're going to have to think about depending on our budget circumstances.
I guess the one advantageous part of the pricing that we did receive was the athletic and extracurricular transportation estimate. Does seem like it would yield some savings based on the bids that we received. I do think a lot of that is contributed to how we structured the bid. This year we asking for a flat hourly rate at a 3 to 4 hour minimum per run, as opposed to asking for a rate per mile and per waiting time for each athletic run. So we did do some research, and it did appear as if restructuring athletic transportation can yield some savings. And that's what
Is there a chance that that's based on a certain number of hours, correct?
Correct.
So say we go to a game and it goes into double overtime, and that could go higher than $45,000. Is there a possibility?
Oh, good. I actually, the $45,000 bid was based on an average 3-hour per run, but I think we're more going to see about 4 hours
I was
per
gonna say
run
4
on
hours,
average.
yeah.
So that way, we're going to pay about $60,000 is the
Okay.
estimate. So it would be about a $10,000 savings. The existing contract under the paying per mile and per waiting time yields about a cost of about $70,000 annually.
Okay.
Currently. So I think kind of the options on the table that I want to present to each of you this evening is that we can certainly move forward and award the bid to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder, and that would actually be North Reading Transportation, not the existing vendor, North Suburban. We also have the option to reject both bids and kind of go back out to bid, and kind of throw this out and see if we yield better pricing. I can certainly, based on the research that we've done and how I've reached out to other communities that have bid in the last year, and that will be going on to bid shortly, and the conversations I've had with certainly area business managers and bus companies, I think this is kind of a going rate. And I don't think we'll see significant changes to the price. I think we're looking at a price of what we received as a low bid.
So when will we discuss the current bus fee and increasing it? Will that come during our budget discussions?
Budget deliberations.
Because I can't see any way of paying for this other than...
I think we tend to agree.
Yeah. And I know that our bus fees are kind of right in the middle right now, right? There's some higher, some lower.
Yeah, we have done some research. I think there are certainly communities in this area that are certainly similar to what we're currently, what our current fees are, and some are higher in this area, in the North Shore area.
Since it is optional, parents don't want to pay it, they do have the option of driving their students to school or have someone drive them, because we're not required over 6th grade to bus.
Correct.
So.
Anticipating when the bids came in, when we saw what the impact was going to be, and we anticipated there would be questions around the user fee for the bus and what that might do to help offset the cost. So I asked Michael to put together kind of a tiered chart of what the fees might look like and what that might net us. So we will have that for you.
We also,
when we discuss the development of the budget.
We also reached out to, as Mr. Bernard just said, we reached out to other area communities and tried to get an update of where communities are at, with not only what their daily rate is for busing, but as well as what they're charging in user fee. So we have updated information on that as well.
With the scale that you're preparing, are you taking into effect that some may not choose to send their kids on the bus anymore?
It's a consideration.
How do you factor that?
We'd have to make some assumptions and look at, certainly pull the last few years of data and make some assumptions. We did increase the user fee, unfortunately, a couple of years ago by $50 to address some increased costs.
And was there a big drop off at that point?
Somewhat, but not significant. It was not significant.
Our population at the secondary level too, as that bubble kind of comes through, I mean, that could almost help us if you decide to go in that direction. But we do have younger students at the high school. Let's say those classes are larger too, so they might be more immediate and more benefit from us for those students.
Move to approve.
Question for Mr. Bernard. Do we have any documented cases or complaints against our current transportation?
North Suburban.
Employees, bus drivers?
We have certainly been, I would say, working very closely with the bus company. We have fielded, periodically have fielded some complaints, and we have certainly addressed those head on and made it clear to the existing company, North Suburban, what those issues are. We're working with them to resolve any issues.
As an outsider, not riding a bus every day, I've heard or seen more issues this year related to buses than I've ever seen on the school committee.
I will note
the
recommendation this evening, the low bid, the lowest responsible bidder is not the existing company we have.
Right.
That was the I was going to follow up what Julie said. So are you satisfied, or have you looked at non-operating transportation?
I have.
A responsible vendor?
So I followed up with their references. They currently, through SEAM Collaborative, have our special education contract, out-of-district contract, and I have reached out to area communities in the area that currently have North Reading Transportation with their regular transportation, athletic transportation, and they've received favorable ratings. I think they are responsible and responsive bidder in this situation in this case.
Mike, one thing I don't understand is like, with gas prices at what they are, I don't understand how that's not having an impact on these bids. I mean,
So
we're paying diesel, even diesel is,
So it actually has, so
Yes. Oh, it has.
in the existing contract in bid language, there's fuel escalation clauses. So this year, we're in the favorable end of that clause in the contract, that fuel adjustment clause. So we are actually receiving a credit each month from North Suburban because of the significant decrease in fuel, which I actually think is going to yield savings close to $15,000 this year.
But the new contract is a flat rate that doesn't take into consideration the cost of fuel.
For athletic transportation, but it would for the regular transportation piece. Right.
because the way it's going, gas will be free within a couple of months.
Yeah, and then the Republicans get it.
Yeah.
All right, I have first from,
To select North Reading
Cliff made a
Transportation.
motion.
Yes. I will second Cliff's motion to
Yeah, there's some
accept.
language, in the, sorry, in the final sentence of the memo that I think would help craft the motion. On page 2, starting with the school department recommends that the school department go to award the school bus transportation contract to NRT Incorporation for 3 years from July 1st.
That's exactly what I said. I heard.
I second exactly what Cliff said, which
Okay.
Michael just read.
And do you recommend this?
I do. We do.
any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the superintendent's contract. Well, I guess we are looking to extend his contract for a 2-year extension. The length of the contract will go through June 30th, 2019, and also a 2% cost of living, retroactive back to July 1st of 2015. Is there any further discussion prior to our previous executive?
No, just to point out that, so what John will have now is a full 3-year contract that extends from July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2019. That's correct. With this motion tonight. And a 2% raise is for the first year only. 2% cost of living raise.
That's just what we wanted.
Right, and then we revisit the compensation every year.
Yeah, I'd just like to say again, we said this at the evaluation, but I think John's done a tremendous job over the last year. Not only John, but his entire administrative team, Michael and Patrick, and the entire administrative team. So I'm really comfortable doing this, and I think it's in the best interest of the committee and the district to extend John's contract. I'll make a motion to approve 2% cost of living and the extension of the contract.
I'll second that and add that John did not have an easy act to follow. He came in the middle of a school year, and he's, as you can see tonight, he's faced a lot of issues that don't have a direct relation to educating our students. I think the first day he was here, there was if I remember, there was a controversy that hit the airwaves that day. So I think he's done a great job. I'm looking forward to working with him over the next 3 years if I get reelected, although after tonight, who knows?
Fat chance of that. I'm already planning your retirement.
C'est la vie. But I really appreciate what John's done for the district. And to second what Jerry said, he's built a great team. He works really well with Patrick. We've brought in that new digital learning coordinator. For everything I hear so far, I think it's going great with him.
Personally.
He's worked great with Michael. He's really built. I see this little troika in my head of John, Michael on his right shoulder, and Patrick on his left shoulder, kind of helping make the decisions. And I think it works great. And I don't know if that's exactly the way it works, but it seems like they're working great.
I've said that in the past. I respect a person in charge that is willing to delegate a lot of authority to his co-administrators.
And I'd like to add that John really truly puts the students of our district at the forefront of the decisions.
Yeah, I second.
All right.
Thank you.
Well done. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have minutes to
I move to approve the regular meeting session for the November 30th, 2015 minutes.
All right, any corrections, errors, omissions, discussion?
Look good to me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. For the executive session of December 14th.
Move to approve the December 14th, 2015 executive session minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And for the open session of December 14th, 2015.
Move to approve the December 14th, 2015 open session minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Jerry, what do you think of having a retirement party?
I don't know, probably in the phone booth. I don't think you have to worry.
Will you come?
Do the best of service.
No, thank you. All right. Mr. Conlon?
Yes, thank you. So in your packet this evening was the January budget update. There's not a lot of new information to report from last month's December budget update. We're certainly seeing the same trends and the same major drivers, certainly as we move through fiscal year 2016. We certainly have some available funds in special education tuitions, as I've mentioned in the past, and only because we, as we have in the past, prepaid some tuitions at the end of fiscal year 2015. Again, this will help provide some level of flexibility to address unanticipated expenses. We continue to watch utilities, certainly electricity, gas, throughout at each building, but certainly the middle school and high school. And we've encumbered certainly all the funds available in our utility budgets, and we're certainly at this point anticipating that those expenses will remain within budget. We've talked about the food service program, certainly each month throughout this fiscal year. They recently closed out the month of December and continue to produce relatively strong and solid numbers. The middle school, certainly the new cafeteria at the middle school, continues to yield strong results as the meals sold per day were up close to 30% for the fourth consecutive month. The high school continues to be up from last year, up a total of 3%. And the program is still operating at a loss, but it has lost $5,200 less than it had at this point last year. So we're still operating under the goal to lose less than $30,000 this year, which would be certainly a nice, certainly would meet our objective when we lost about $50,000 last year. So the program is certainly performing better, and we're certainly like what we're seeing. On the payroll side, again, there's nothing significant to report. Certainly all the lines remain within budgeted amounts. We continue to see a need to appoint long-term substitutes to fill extended leave of absences. So we'll see how that would impact the substitute budget. But overall, I think things continue to be in good shape. So at this point, I'll open up to any questions.
Great, good to me.
Thank you very much.
For bids and donations, we do have a couple. If I could get a motion to accept from the Batchelder Parent Fund Foundation. Handheld Geomat GPS devices in the amount of $559.93.
Move to approve with gratitude and say that these are really cool devices, because geocaching is really cool. And if Carl Nelson was still here, he would go on for about a half an hour talking about it after we approve this motion. Carl's a big fan of geocaching. But it's a great way for kids to learn, so this is great.
And just to let you know, it's tied into the third grade curriculum. After they learn to use these units, they then travel to Salem, Massachusetts, and it ties into their social studies. They go to the different locations within Salem using these geocache devices to uncover some stuff about local history.
Great. Just make sure they find their way back.
We try.
They got a GPS, they'll find their way back.
Thank you. Could I have a second? Any further questions, concerns, or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next, we have a donation of $850 from the Middle School Parents Association to offset the cost of the 7th grade field trip to a Christmas carol that took place in December.
Second.
Colin? Sorry, did you have?
I was just saying thank you very much to the Middle School Parents Association. Very generous.
And loving.
We're off to a great start again in 2016. As far as donations, it's great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Subcommittee updates. The athletic committee?
That was originally named the Turf Field Committee. It's now the High School, Middle School Athletic Facility Committee, because we realized that it involved more than a turf committee. It includes restroom facilities at the current turf field. It includes a potential new concession stand. It possibly could include a storage building, and it could include some irrigation. So it's more than just a turf field. We had an organizational meeting at our last meeting. Mr. Vanasty was unable to make it, and we pretty much filled out the committee. Although we have to have the school committee's approval for this. The two members we're going to vote on that at our next meeting.
February 1st.
The two school committee members right now are myself and Jerry, but if anybody else is interested in being on that committee, I probably won't be around after May, so someone else might want to take that. If anybody else is interested.
They may recall you before February, so.
Exactly. We're also going to have a selectman on the committee, Mr. Bernard, Mr. LaPret, Mr. Johnson, the athletic director, Wayne Hardiker, Rita Mullen, and Marty Tilton from Parks and Rec. Two community members, although I had another community member come up to me tonight and express interest, John. I told him to send you, he's involved in the athletic facility industry. And he said I told him to send you an email. He said he would send you an email tomorrow. He was here tonight. So at the next meeting, we'll come forward. If everybody's okay with Jerry and me being the school committee representatives on that committee, we'll come forward with a slate of 11 or 12 committee members to serve for an undefined term, because basically, we'll know within a year or a little more whether this is going to have enough momentum to raise the funds to do what we need to do. We know we need to do something at the bathrooms, so that's something with the bathrooms at the current turf field. Just to update people where that is, the town building inspector has filed to get a meeting for us to go in and meet with them to get an appeal on the number of toilets that they would require at the turf field. And when that meeting is scheduled, he and Marty Tilton and probably others will go in and meet with the State Board of Plumbing, I believe, to attempt to get a waiver. Most communities have been successful getting a waiver, significantly reducing the amount of toilets and urinals that they have to install. Once we get that information, we will then have to come up with a plan, because the turf field no longer can use the high school restroom facilities, because that's a long way to walk. It has to be within 300 yards, I believe, of the field.
It's
300 feet. Yeah.
What are the rules for?
It's based on the capacity of the stands, and it's a ridiculous. Right now, it's like 45 or something.
It's 44.
Very high. It's very high.
So it's not uncommon to.
Yeah, it's really high. So most communities go in and get a, I know other communities have gone in and gotten waivers.
I don't think it's that high.
But there's going to have to be a building put up there at some point in the next few years, because we're not going to continue to be able to use porta potties forever.
Our building inspector is being very cooperative.
Yes.
He's working with us,
He's
guiding
working
us,
closely with us
he's, helping us.
And working with Marty and Parks and Rec.
Is there a deadline that we have to
We have to have a plan by the spring.
Yeah, that's,
Plan for construction.
Yes,
Well,
or
a
a
plan
plan
for how we're gonna resolve
how we're
the
going to
problem.
resolve it.
And
Right.
then you can get like an extension.
so that's being driven by whether or not the waiver is acted upon favorably. If it's acted upon favorably, we have a little bit more definition around what we need to do.
So we will bring that membership to you and the charge of the committee at our next meeting for the school committee to vote on. And then members will have to get sworn in by the town clerk, Barbara Stats.
We were relying on hitting Powerball to kind of pay.
Yeah,
for
that's-
this, but now we've got to go back to another plan.
Yeah, that's us. Okay.
Didn't work out.
That's it.
The financial planning team met on the 15th. And that's always a interesting meeting, to say the least. You don't really want to speak, so I'll let you go ahead and...
I would say that it's going to be a very challenging year. The same old with health insurance costs. I know that the town administrator and selectmen are going to do everything they can, working with our insurance group and with our consultant to get the cost down. The projected increase right now is pretty high. And last year we had basically a zero increase. The selectmen did and the town administrator did a great job negotiating a contract where there was no increase. And it looks like we might be paying for that this year. So it's anywhere from 5% to 13%.
Which is a killer.
With 13% is a killer, obviously. No one thinks we're going to end up paying 13%. But that was the focus. That and completing paying off the school project was the focus of the main two items. What we're trying to do with the school project is reconcile everybody's numbers to see how much we paid and how much exactly we owe. It's a huge project. There's 4 zillion invoices, and everybody's trying to reconcile them. Michael's working with Liz Paveo, the town finance director, and they're working with selectmen. So everybody's kind of working together with PMA to get this all sorted out. And there's supposed to be a meeting within the next week with PMA. So I don't think there's anything else. Really.
No, that was really the
Essentially, that was the biggest thing, the
Yeah.
biggest discussion.
The insurance really was the...
Well, then we talked about the middle school, which we're going to talk about that later.
I do have that, sorry.
Yeah.
Our next meetings, workshop goals, the superintendent goals workshop is on January 25th, 2016 at 4 p.m. at the superintendent's office. Then the athletic subcommittee will also meet on January 26th at 12:30 at the superintendent's office. NORCAM Board of Directors meeting will be January 28th at 7 p.m. at the NORCAM office. The policy subcommittee will meet February 3rd at 2:30 at the superintendent's office.
Madam Chairman, I'm sorry, if you don't mind, just for Mrs. Copley and Mr. Bowers, that's the same day as the school department's capital improvements plan committee presentation 4. So we can either streamline our meeting, and I think we would need to end around 3:30. But I think it's worth, if you're okay with it, and you can just know that we need to end at 3:30 so that Michael and I have. Well, I think we have a lot of information, because as you know, the social media policy is, so we have some information to share with you. So if you're okay with it, I'd like to have that meeting. But we may need to schedule another one not long after that if we have to continue business.
I think that makes sense.
Okay. Yes.
The Athletics Facilities Committee will meet February 8th at 1 p.m. at the superintendent's office. The Secondary School Building Committee will meet February 9th at 5:30 at the Distance Learning Lab. And the Financial Planning Team will meet again February 12th at 8:15 at the superintendent's office. And at this point, the administrative report from the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So just a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention. The first is, as you know, you endorsed the district's efforts to move forward with enhancing our school safety and security protocols. I came across, was alerted to a grant opportunity through the town's insurance carrier, our MIIA. When we applied for a grant, I worked on this with Patrick and with the support of our town administrator, Michael Gilberto. We applied for a grant and received a $5,000 award to be used to enhance the school safety and security protocols in the district. So I thought that was some good news for you to be aware of. The Little School Roof Replacement Project update. So the week of January 11th, Michael Conning and I, Michael Gilberto, and our project manager from Compass, Jeff D'Amico, and the architectural firm that's been assigned for the Little School Roof Project were in contact with each other on a series of conference calls to talk about the budget for the project. And I think with the sum and substance of the conversation, and we ultimately ended up on the phone with the MSBA. None of this, there's no bad news here. This is just informational for you. I think we were, I don't want to use the word concerned, but because that's probably too strong of a word. We wanted to make sure, I guess that's a good way to say it, that we had enough project management services on site for the life of the project that was going to start sometime mid-June and conclude mid-September. So essentially what we did was we met, we had a nice conference call, we decided that we would move $10,000 out of the soft contingency appropriation of the budget so that we would have an additional 3 weeks of project management services available to us to extend that out to 17 weeks. We all believed, I think it's fair to say that everyone believed that to be the prudent decision. The MSBA was fine with it, so that decision had been made, and the budget has been resubmitted with that adjustment. We will be going before the MSBA board on January 27th. Michael and I are both going to that meeting. We feel we want to go. I think they told us it's not necessary, but I think we want to go. We just want to be there in case there are questions and just to support and advocate in a sense for the project to be used. Again, informational for you.
The high school project, we attended that meeting and it was a useful experience.
Yeah, we're interested. We're interested, and I want them to see that level of interest. So, right? So, that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. For future business, we'll have a school committee meeting on February 1st, 7 p.m. back at the Distance Learning Lab, and then again on February 22nd at 7 p.m. also in the Distance Learning Lab. And
before you adjourn,
yes.
I'd just like to let people know that I pulled papers today to run for another 3-year term. Maybe regretting that decision. No, I pulled papers today, so I will be running for another 3-year term this week. And you?
I also pulled papers today to run for another term for another 3 years as well. So I will gladly take all the support I can get. All right. Thank you very much. Conclude the meeting. Yeah, that would be nice. Yay.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.